If any of you were around for our last video, you may have watched us stumble through the brand new Azure Devops pipeline, making mistakes all along the way. Well, it turns out that somebody saw that and they thought that they could teach us to do it better. So we're joined by a guest today, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Azure Devops. Let's mash on that. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Asp.Net Monsters. In today's episode, we are joined by a special guest, Dylan Smith, who knows all there is to know about Azure DevOps, and also secret things about the future of Azure DevOps that he's not going to tell us.
Don't get me in trouble.
Yep.
Super NDA, as they say.
It is.
Super NDA. All right. So I watched you guys the last episode, and you struggled a little bit, but it was still pretty good. In an hour, you managed to get a bare bones pipeline up and running. So I was thinking maybe we could pick up where you left off and kind of take it to the next level. As Donovan would say, rub some DevOps on it. I got a bunch of ideas for things that we can do with your pipeline.
That sounds great.
I'm excited.
Where should we start?
All right, just want to dive into it. So if I remember right, where you left off is some of your projects weren't building. They were throwing errors, so you just turned them off. So I figure first step is maybe we make sure that your pipeline is actually building all your code and running your tests.
So is just turning off projects not the right approach then?
Probably not.
Okay.
Especially not the tests. And so if I went and took a look at your code a little bit earlier today. So I kind of know what we need to do to make it work, and I can tell you why it was erroring. So it works in your app layer build, obviously, but you're building for some really old version of the .NET framework, some preview version, which I'm guessing just isn't installed on our hosted build servers.
Yeah, I think
so. That's why it's not building.
That makes sense.
So there's a few things we can do. Probably what we probably want to do is just update your projects to not target some crazy preview version. But there's other options too, right? You could modify your build to step one, install that .NET preview version on our hosted build servers. I probably wouldn't want to do that because that's going to be slow. You could stand up a private build agent, a VM on-premise or in Azure, and connect that to Azure Pipelines. And then you can install any .NET Framework version you want. Or there's another option, which is do containerized builds, which are pretty cool, which lets you use our hosted build infrastructure. You don't need to stand up a VM, but you can specify a container image to use that your builds get run inside of. And it can be a container image off Docker Hub or a private registry, which can have, .NET Preview, whatever, crazy version installed. But why don't we just get rid of your preview version?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like the right thing to do in this case.
Yeah, so I haven't tried upgrading your projects to the latest and greatest .NET Core 2. So why don't we just do kind of what I did, which is just get them off the preview and still be on 1.1 or whatever you're on.
Okay, that sounds good.
So let's crack open your solution file first.
Crack open solution file.
I'm not actually sure how you do that in Visual Studio.
I'm sure that's the way of doing it.
I just do it in like Notepad++
Just
or something.
Edit CS proj somewhere, it'll say.
Not for the solution file, I don't think.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not the solution.
All right.
I just wanted to edit.
CS code it is?
Yeah, let's just do that. That's easier. All right. So we have that shoved here in the source directory. Okay, so this is slightly different, I think, from what we saw last time because I just re-added everything to the project.
No, you got it all commented out, so just uncomment
Oh,
it.
I still have commented out. Let me just go and save it in Visual Studio because I just added this back in, so maybe it's going to overwrite this. Let's see. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I tracked them all back in.
All right, so we're good there. So now in either Visual Studio, crack open your CS proj files. And I think we got to make changes to or the web and the test one, I think, is what need changes.
Okay, so
If I remember right.
One.
So you have to change the thing it targets and a couple of packages.
Okay.
So your code generation utils down there. You got pre1, preview 2, final.
Okay. Yeah.
That needs to just get rid of the preview 2 final and leave it as 100. And I didn't need to change the compiler comments. I think that's fine. Preview for some reason. Maybe you don't actually use it. And then your to do your test project, you need to change something.
Okay, did I need to retarget the framework too?
No, because you're not targeting the
fine.
preview
Okay.
there. So that's okay.
Tests. Okay.
And so what is it here? Your .NET.test.sdk.
Okay.
You're targeting. Get rid of the preview. And actually, there's something that I think we should do here. You don't need to do to make it the build, but we're going to need to do it to make it for something in a few minutes. Why don't we change your test project to be .NET Core 2? And actually, right now, you're targeting 2 frameworks. And if you look at your app layer test, you're actually only running the test in .NET 4.5.1.
Okay.
So why don't we just get rid of the .NET 4.5.1 and change that to .NET Core App 2.0?
Okay. Sounds good.
And then the couple other changes you need to make because it's .NET Core 2. Your .NET.test.sdk, that needs to be 15.5.
Okay.
And those two 1.0.2 versions, those need to be, let me look, I think it's 1.1.0. Yeah. Just confirm that over here on my screen. Yeah, that sounds right. All right, and I don't know, let's see if this compiles locally and commit it.
Okay.
And
Save all
hopefully
of
this should build, you still have your existing pipeline in place, so.
All right. Well, let's go over here and rebuild. All right. So it's going to go off and install a bunch of stuff.
All right. Oh, is it still going? Still
No,
going.
that's all good. Build 4 successful, 0 failed. So we should be good.
All right, let's push it up.
All right.
Straight to master.
Yeah, that's how we roll in these parts. I can't remember if we had branch builds enabled, so I'm just going to push it to master.
All right, so you should have your YAML-based pipeline kicking off now in Azure Pipelines.
All right, let me just open up a new Chrome window here and go take a look at that.
There it goes.
Okay, yeah, so it did pick that up. That's nice.
Okay, now so for all the other stuff that I'm thinking we can do, what you guys did last time is you used the GitHub, our new kind of GitHub integration thing in the marketplace, which dropped you right into YAML-based builds. So we have the ability to do YAML-based builds or a GUI editor, but if you're using the GUI, you don't get YAML. And there's kind of pros and cons to each. The nice thing about YAML is it's a source code file. You know, you get source code history, branching and merging, and most importantly, pull requests around changes to your build definition, which is awesome. But the downside is if you're not really super comfortable or experienced editing the YAML, you kind of lost, like you guys got last time.
Yeah.
Where you're not really sure what to put in there. Like the discoverability is a problem. And I know we have some plans to make the YAML editing experience kind of more discoverable. But what I do, since I'm not super comfortable in the YAML either, I just use the GUI build editor to set up the build the way I want, and then I click export YAML and check it in. So I'm going to suggest we do that.
Okay, sure. So this is still running here in the background, but we can go and just do that anyway, I guess.
Yeah, so let's just create a new build. you don't really have much in your build.
Okay,
So
yeah, we can just create a
I'm
brand new
not,
one.
I'm not too concerned about you reusing yours. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, that's
There's
fine.
just not much in there yet.
So what you described as the experience I was expecting when I came in here. Like that's what I had seen kind of demoed on stage.
No.
Go back?
Go back.
Oh,
Go back.
okay.
Go back.
So like right into builds, then new.
Yeah, there's another on that first screen. There's another button. Yeah, new build pipeline. That's what you want.
Okay.
You actually have the new experience turned on, which I haven't done much. You see the use the visual designer. Click that one.
Oh man, I didn't even notice that down there. Okay. Cool.
So this is the experience we've had for a long
okay.
time. That screen you were just in is like the brand new experience.
All right, so this is one that I've seen before.
Yeah.
So
But the nice thing is, if you use this experience, when you're done, you can just click Generate YAML.
Okay, cool. So master is what we want to build off of. We're going to avoid the
Yeah.
YAML, right?
Well, and in fact here, so you in your last video, it looked like you got to the screen and you weren't really sure what to pick.
Mm-hmm.
What you're picking here is just a template, so it's a reversible decision.
Right.
It's just going to put some default tasks in there for you. So what I usually do, I just pick empty and start from scratch. And especially I think for this video, we can just start from scratch.
Okay.
So empty job at the top. And this way we know everything that's kind of going on in here. All right, so agent pool, hosted VS 2017, that's good. Your get sources is already set up. So click on that agent job, and there's the plus button, add some tasks. And we're going to add, I think it's 5 tasks. So what we want to do for your build is .NET Restore, .NET Build, .NET Test, .NET Pack, and then publish artifacts.
Okay, so these are all, well, the first few of those are all these .NET Core tasks with just different arguments?
Yep, so just add 4 of those.
All right.
And then you're going to want to publish, let's add the other 5th task in there.
Okay.
Publish build artifacts, I think it's called.
Publish test result, publish build artifacts. This one.
All right, drag that down to the bottom. All right, so the first one, .NET Restore. You don't have to, that would have changed for you automatically. But yeah, just pick the restore command.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like you said in the last video, you don't actually need to do a restore. If you just do the build directly, it'll do the restore for you. However, there's a specific reason we're going to have the restore as a separate step.
Ooh, okay. I feel like the word caching is going to come into play here, but let's go.
Yeah, so the path to your solution file. So this is, I think, source slash...
Foo.sl, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so then we want to do a build on the next one.
Yep. Same path.
Okay.
And for the build, you're going to want to give it a couple arguments here.
Sure.
I think minimum the configuration. So I think it's -- build configuration. Let me look at what I got. Or just -- configuration, that's right. And I don't think you need an equals. I think it's just -- configuration space release.
Okay.
All right. So that's your build. And then the next one will be your either pack or test, either one.
Sure. Do you have any preference around that?
For pack and test, I don't think it matters which order you do it in.
Yeah, I would probably tend to go test first, just because I'd like the build to fail earlier. If we can avoid doing the pack step on a failed build, that seems like it makes sense to me.
In your existing build, you do the pack first.
I don't know what idiot set that up, but obviously not a good idiot.
All right, so here you want to give it the path to your test project, which is tests/genfoo.tests. genfoo.tests.
Genfoo.tests, all right.
And that's the folder name.
Okay.
So you need another.
Oh, I need another, like... Like so? Is that what it's like?
That looks right.
Okay.
All right, now for arguments for this, I have the same configuration. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but -- configuration.
All right, we'll give that a try.
And then a couple other things. Another argument, -- no - build. tells it to skip the build because you've already built it.
Right.
And in fact, on your build, I think you can put --no-restore.
Oh, so it'll just skip the entire unit attempting through that.
Yeah, a little performance boost.
Okay. Take that and get it.
All right. Publish test results is checked. That's good.
We probably want to pack, I guess, like
Your gen-
source, gen food, probably like that.
I think that should work, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll give it a try. We'll see.
Yep. And you can see here, this is defaulting to using the configuration to package, a build variable, build configuration. I don't actually know if that's defined by default, but if you click on the variables tab, you can take a look.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to need to define that variable.
Okay.
So just click add, call it build configuration.
Now, does it matter? It's a pipeline variable or a variable group? So what's the deal with the variable group?
A variable group is you can set up a group, one or more variables, and you can reuse them between builds. So we probably don't care about that. But the other nice thing about variable groups is you can link them to Azure Key Vault if they're secret variables, and it'll pull them at build time from Azure Key Vault automatically, which is nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like
All
the
right, so
sound
there's
of
got to
that.
be called build configuration.
Let's maybe throw a capital C in
Is any of this case sensitive?
No,
Oh, okay.
but normally it's capital B, capital C is what people normally do. Value is release. And in fact, now that you have this variable, you might as well go and use it in your other two tasks where you
let's
typed in
do
release
that.
manually.
So what's the globbing syntax with the parentheses?
And things like the path to your solution or path to your test project, if you were using those paths over and over in multiple tasks, I'd probably stuff those in variables
Right.
too. When you need a space.
I set that to the right value, right? Yeah, I did. Good.
All right, so let's go back to .NET Pack.
Okay.
All right, so it's going to build release, and it's defaulting the output to the artifact staging directory. So you may or may not know that when a build kicks off in Azure Pipelines, there's two directories it creates for you. One is called the sources directory, where it puts all the source code, and one called the artifact staging directory, which you don't have to use if you don't want to. But it's just convenience. A lot of people will, the inputs are in the sources directory, and the build outputs go in the artifact staging directory, and then you just publish the artifact staging directory at the end.
Okay.
You don't have to. You can put all the outputs right in the sources directory and publish from there if you wanted to, but that's kind of typical using the staging directory.
Sure. So, if I
For
click
.NET
service,
Pack, you probably want to take off Do Not Build. Oh yeah, you got that. And let's try that.
Okay, cool. So this was already all set up for us, I think?
we gotta publish. It's publishing that. Now I'm gonna give the artifact name something more descriptive,
Right.
like NuGet. NuGet is what I'd probably call this one.
Sure.
All right, let's kick it off. See what happens.
Save and queue. I'm really bad at remembering to put comments on changes.
Well, in this case, you probably don't care too much because when we're done getting this all set up, we're probably going to delete this build and just grab the YAML, right?
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a
So you
nice
see-
history tab for, like, if this was a larger team, we could go back and see kind of what has changed on the build.
But when you're doing YAMLs, you got
Yeah,
Get
it's all
history.
checked in, so.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go jump over to the build and see how it's doing. I'm not even sure if our last build finished successfully.
I think it did, yeah.
Did it? Okay, we should go back and check.
That's a good sign. Means no typos.
Good.
Now, when I look at this, I'm not seeing your new build configuration.
I probably don't have it shared out to you. Although I thought that you had like all the rights in the world over this stuff.
You don't see Genfu CI2 under builds?
I don't. I just see Mr. James.genfu.
That's weird. You should make Dave a project admin.
Sure. Let's go do that.
Oh.
Project settings. security. Project administrators.
Administrators.
Members.
He's already there.
So what I was looking at, I guess, the default view was my favorites view, and it wasn't
Oh,
my
that's
favorites yet, so I had to go like find it through the folder structure. It's all good.
You can make it a favorite, obviously.
Yeah, I did. It is definitely my favorite build now.
All right, Simon, while that's running, let's do the first tweak to this.
Okay.
So something I'm going to suggest is I think you set up an Azure Artifact feed last time, which you were intending to use to publish your NuGet package to, like before you publish to the public NuGet one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Simon?
Yeah. Uh-oh. I'm still here.
Did we lose Simon?
Uh-oh, I can hear you. Fuck off, Skype.
It wasn't worth it before. Now it's there and easy enough. I'll probably do it. It'll be good for the side client thing, 'cause it's, there's... Is that Simon?
Yeah, I'm back. Hold on, let me reshare my
Okay.
screen. That's actually fine, because Skype was being stupid anyway. Okay, it's been like on its last legs of not crashing for a few seconds.
Hey, we're back.
Okay. Good. Let's keep going.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah,
So,
it was our intention to like publish packages internally, and then every once in a while do release out to real world NuGet.
Right. So I'm going to suggest if you go to your Artifacts tab,
Okay.
and the feed that you set up, so you get a Genfu feed. So click into that feed. Or no, sorry, you already were in the feed. Okay, here we go. So you can use these feeds for kind of two main purposes. You can use a private feed to publish your own packages, but you can also use it kind of like a cache, and you can do upstreaming. So if you go, actually go back. You're in a specific package right now.
Sure.
Just click back. Here we go. If you click on Settings in the top right, and go to Feed Settings, and then Upstream Sources. All right, it's already set up. So
Okay.
when you do your .NET Restore, what I'm going to suggest we do is we point it at this private feed to get all its packages. And if the feed doesn't have any, it'll go and get them from NuGet or NPM, and then it will cache them inside the VSTS feed. And that's good for a number of reasons. Number one, you're going to get a little performance boost because the VSTS feed is stored inside an Azure data center, so it's closer to your build server. Also, you're going to avoid things like the left pad problem, right? If a package that you depend on ever gets removed from the public registries, you still have a cache of it. Or if the public registries go down or are really slow, you don't actually need to hit them.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that a lot.
Okay, so let's do that. So let's go back to your build, and this is why we had a separate restore step in there.
Right.
Because
okay. And so this is like the final argument in the should I check my packages in coffin, right? You don't have to do
click
it
edit.
because you've got a private feed.
Yeah, and this is, you need to authenticate to this feed, obviously, because it's private.
Okay.
So you actually need to add another, oh no, you don't need to add another step. In .NET Restore, you see there the feeds and authentication.
Yeah.
So drop down that drop down. Do you need to actually pick your feed, or is it automatically picked? I can't remember. Oh, you do need to pick it. So, you got two of them set up.
Yeah, I don't remember which one's which now. It's probably private
So
Genfu.
I think the one we were looking at was private Genfu.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's just uncheck the use packages from new.org.
Okay.
Force it to go through our feed. So the first time we run this build, it's not going to be any faster because it's got to go and cache them all. But every subsequent time, they'll all be cached.
Okay.
And then the other thing we can do is versioning your package, right? Which is you do that today in AppVeyor, I believe.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, your last build was 1.4.22. So I'm going to assume what you do is the 1.4 you explicitly increment when you choose to, and the 22 is just auto-incremented by AppVeyor. Is that right?
Yeah,
sounds
the
right.
22 is a build number from AppVeyor.
Well, let's do the same thing. So we're not on the AppVeyor auto-increment, so I'm gonna suggest we make it 1.5 and let Azure Pipelines start from 1.5.1
Sure.
and go up. Make
Sure.
sense? All right,
Yep.
so under your .NET Pack task, under Pack Options, I believe. All right, so drop that down. And let's use the build number.
Okay.
And then we need to actually tell Azure Pipelines to use a reasonable build number. The default's not going to work for this. So if you go to the Options tab,
Okay.
and actually before we do this, oh look, it's blank. That's surprising. Before we do this, let's set up a couple of build variables for major version and minor version.
Okay.
It's nicer to have them in variables.
One. That 1.5.
And then for build number format, you're going to do, the $ syntax, major version, .minor version, dot.
Okay.
And then there's a kind of a special, somewhat cryptic syntax to get the auto increment. So it's the same $ syntax, and then it's rev, capital R, R-E-V,
Okay.
colon R.
Just a lowercase r?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and that should do it.
Cool.
So let's go back to your tasks. Let's see if there's anything else we want to do before we kick it off. Pack, you got the test running. That's probably good. Let's see if that works.
Save queue. Let's go back and take a look at that builds.
First one passed. That's good. And you can see right away their build's 1.5.1.
Yeah, so it's already done a nice job of setting up the build number.
So I don't remember when you guys tackled this last time. Did you set up a release pipeline?
I think we didn't.
take
We
a look.
kind of stopped short of that.
I think you might have started and abandoned it, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, okay, so we did do it.
All right. Well, let's see what's in here. Let's click Edit Pipeline at the top.
Oops. I hit create there instead. I did. No, go back. I'm sorry. I meant to edit. Okay.
All right. Well, so first of all, let's change this to temporarily, at least, to point at the new build we just set up.
Okay.
So you just X out or hit delete on the top right.
Okay.
We'll delete that artifact and add in.
So build, we're going to take it from, I guess it's probably called Genfu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
go.
We didn't give it a very nice name, but that's okay. And you can see at the bottom, it automatically detects that you're publishing a build artifact called NuGet.
Yeah. All right, awesome.
So add that in. And then click the little lightning bolt at the top of the artifact. And we can say continuous deployment trigger. So every time a build completes, it's going to kick off a release. But you probably you probably don't want to do PR builds, right? You don't want a PR build to kick off a release. And you probably only want builds on master branch to kick off a release. Exactly.
Okay.
And then if we go and look at your private release stage, let's see what you got here. So you got a NuGet publish, and this is going to private Genfu, and you're publishing any new package. One thing you'll see this nice because it knows about your build artifacts. That path to NuGet packages, if you click the ellipsis next to it, start expanding it, you can explore the
Okay.
packages that are published.
Cool.
So if you click OK there, let's just pick that.
So I'm a little bit concerned that it's like 1.3.4.
Yeah. We'll fix it.
Okay. Sure.
And then the GenFood, the last bit, just put a star in there, right, between GenFoo and new pack. Yeah, you might want to get rid of the preview too, because I don't think we're going to have that.
Awesome.
And I think that is all you need for the private one. If you go back to your pipeline view,
Okay.
so what we probably want is a second stage, probably with an approval in front of it, that deploys it to the real NuGet. So we probably want,
Oh, okay. So was this one? Did we set it to not deploy to like the real NuGet?
No, this is just deploying to your private feed.
Oh, right. So
private
so it's
GenFoo.
targeting that. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's go back to the pipeline. We'll add.
But you can probably just, if you want, you can clone it,
Oh, that's a good
because you already
call.
have the task set up.
I like that.
Now, you only have one task in there, so it doesn't really matter. But if you had like 9 things configured.
Let's not underestimate how lazy I am. Yeah.
You might want to call this public NuGet or something.
Yeah.
Normally in a release pipeline, you're going to call them like dev, test, prod, because you're releasing a NuGet package. That doesn't really make sense. You're not deploying to environments.
Right.
All right, so let's see if we can configure this. I'm guessing you probably don't want to run this just yet, but hopefully we can configure it for real. Now, you don't want that. You want to go to an external NuGet server
Okay. All right.
and click New.
Doesn't. I was hoping we kind of have like the real NuGet built in, but I guess it needs some authentication, right?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you want to configure this now. You could
Sure,
always do this later. You're going to need to get an API key.
Yeah. All right. Let me.
And there's a
background.
well, there's a few things during this video that we're going to have tokens and keys on the screen. So I was thinking we could just not worry about it, and you can revoke them all after the video.
That's a good call. Okay, so I'll drag it back over, and everybody can see me signing in. To NuGet. Why? I really feel like setting my password to just a bunch of dots was a good plan. Nobody ever realizes that my password is just like 9 dots. All right.
I think you got to click on your name, yeah.
So
API
keys. I notice I have no hash sign here. I bet you it's because my API key is expiring soon.
You're
So
going
in
to want to
fact,
create a new...
there's my GenFoo one, so that's expiring in a month. So this is a good time, or maybe even in 5 days. So let's create a new one. Yeah. So this is going to be Azure Devops key. We'll expire that in as far away in the future as possible, which is unfortunately 365 days. Now we got to give it some permissions here. So GenFoo is the only repo I wanted to have permissions over, I think. Push new packages and push new package versions. So it's a fairly restricted sort of key. Copy that.
Oh, it's nice. It doesn't even
it
display
doesn't show it. That's cool.
It might show it here.
You might... No, I don't think it will.
Look at that.
That's great. You don't have to revoke anything.
I'm not entirely sure what you put in there. I don't think it's going to be specific. Is this? Oh yeah, it's going to be specific to your package, right? Because it's your feed.
No, I think it's just
to know. But it could be nice if it was just like NuGet. Oh, there it is. That's probably what it is. Don't use this. Okay.
It's a little
Maybe just
dated.
that? Yeah, 7 years old, but not even that is.
I think there's a v3, yeah, api.nuget.org/v3.
Okay, no, it's okay. If you go back to Azure Pipelines, click on the little info button. It tells you what it should be.
Ah, that's good. Ah,
Of course
look
it
at
does.
that.
That's
Quality.
I was also telling you what it should be, but
Did you have the... Okay, it's fun, but I can't actually copy it. Ah! Screw you, internet people. I think I can't find stuff.
Should be able to copy it from there. Can I
Yeah,
copy mine?
you'd think that.
Oh, maybe not. Nope.
That's alright.
Feature request.
This is just like gatekeeping, right? Like,
And the nice thing here is what you're doing there is you're setting up what's called Azure service connection in Azure DevOps. So it's not specific to this build. So if you ever want to have another build or release pipeline, you can just pick that from the drop-down now. You don't have to re-enter your credentials. They're kind of cached or saved outside of the build release definition.
okay, cool.
And the same thing with your GitHub service connection. So when you pointed it to GitHub at the start there, you didn't have to go and authenticate because it already has that stored.
Right.
Because you did it last time. All right. So you probably want to put an approval on here.
Boom.
Pre-deployment. There you go.
You know what? James is the most sensible one of us, so we should put him.
Or you can put the team. You can put the GenFu team, and then anybody who's configured on that team, which I assume is the three of you.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's smart. Okay. Save.
And if you
What does
if you go and
timeout
click,
mean on that?
meaning if nobody approves it in 30 days, the release will basically go away.
Okay.
And go back to that one job, one task on the second stage.
This one? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you and click on the publish? We didn't have to say anything else in here, did we? Under advanced, is there any other things that we need to set?
Oh, just around verbosity.
No. All right. Now that's good. All right. Did your last build succeed?
Let's go see. It looks like it worked nicely.
So click on the name of the build there, manual build for Mr. Tibbs. And you can see there your build artifacts published, NuGet. And if you click the little ellipsis next to it and go to view contents, if you click download, it would give you a zip file.
But
If
here
you
I
go
can
view
show-
contents,
Okay, cool.
you can see what's in there. All right. So now let's do some more fun stuff.
Sure.
So we got all your stuff building. Are the tests running? If you go to the where's that? See, test
yeah.
succeeded, and you should get some nice charts and graphs and stuff in here.
Ooh, I'm super excited for this. Oh, look at that.
I'm
9
curious,
seconds.
I was trying to figure out why it's not 100% pass.
But it's too...
You got
It's because we have
Yeah.
some that are ignored.
yeah, they're skipped.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm super excited.
Hooray! There are no test failures. You get a trophy. All right.
Oh, that's nice. I wish it was a real trophy.
Okay. So let's go and edit your build definition, and let's see what we want to do next.
Okay. Let's do it. Edit.
So there's a few ideas that I think we should do here. Number one is let's get code coverage publishing. Number two, I mean, yeah, code coverage is nice to have. And also on my builds, I'm a big fan of like static analysis. The more, the better. If I can get automated stuff to analyze and inspect my code and tell me if it's good or bad, the more, the better, in my opinion. And so probably the most popular one is Sonar Cube or Sonar Cloud. So I'm thinking, why don't we get that configured? And then there's another one I like called WhiteSource, another third-party plugin that does security scanning of your code and your packages to tell you if you've got known security vulnerabilities in there.
Okay.
So 3 things. So let's try and see how many of those we can tackle. Make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay. So for code coverage, in .NET Core, it's actually a little trickier than it used to be. In days gone by, full .NET, it was basically a checkbox. If you're using full .NET and MS Test, you just tick a box and you're good to go. .NET Core, it's a little bit more complex because code coverage is not built into the compiler toolchain. So it's all like third-party plugins. So what I use is something called Coverlet, which is a NuGet package that you're going to have to add to your project. So why don't we edit the CS proj for your test?
Alright. Test. I swear there was like a way of doing this. Let's just go back to Visual Studio Code. Seems easier. Okay. Coverlet, you'd say?
Yeah, let me get on your screen here. Yeah, so it's called coverlet.msbuild.
2 T's?
Nope.
Just like that?
You
No,
spelled
no.
out like my name. I
No
appreciate that.
no E on the end of coverlet.
Okay, oh, I see, yes.
Yeah, and it's version 2.3.0. And this is why I had you go to .NET Core 2, because I think Coverlet only works
okay.
with Core 2. And then there's another thing that we'll need. So the way that we're going to set up coverage is that Coverlet package kind of injects itself in the build pipeline automatically. So when you do .NET test and pass a couple extra parameters, it's going to automatically collect coverage. And then there's another step, which is you want to take that coverage output, which is just an XML file, and generate a nice-looking HTML report. So there's another plugin for that. It's not a package reference. It's a .NET CLI tool reference.
Ooh, okay.
So you add it in just like a pack. Everything's the same, except instead of package reference, it's called .NET CLI tool reference.
That's a different item group?
I don't think it matters, but I usually put it in a different item group.
Sure.
And the coverlet we could have added through the manage NuGet packages thing in Visual Studio. These CLI tool references don't work through the manage NuGet dialog, or at least not yet.
CLI tool...
No, .NET CLI tool reference. Yeah.
I'm just guessing at the capitalization here.
Yep, that's exactly how I have it.
Okay. Let's try self-closing too, isn't it? All right.
Yep.
So
And it's going to be include, and it's called all lowercase. Not sure if it matters, but .NET dash report generator dash CLI.
okay. And so
And version, yeah, 4.0.0 dash RC6, lowercase RC.
it's a good
that
number
is
of these
it.
candidates to have.
Yeah, so what these two things do is the coverlet allows you to specify extra arguments or properties when you call .NET test. The report generator ones adds another .NET command. So now you can call .NET generate report or whatever the command is.
Awesome. So I'll just add these in. Right, so is that all that's necessary to get it to be picked up in DevOps, or do we need to add something to the pipeline?
So, well, we need to add two things. We need to your .NET test, we need to add some extra arguments.
Okay.
And then we're going to add an extra command. So the extra arguments are /p : so these are like MS build properties.
Okay.
Collect coverage equals true. And both the C's are capital in mine. I'm not sure if it's case sensitive or not.
We'll assume it is.
And then another property, coverlet output format equals, I have no idea how to pronounce this, cobertura, C-O-B-E-R, C-O-B, as in Bobby. B, yeah, cobertura, yep. So this is like, I guess there's a couple kind of standard formats for code coverage data. Cobertura, OpenCover, Jacoco. There's about half a dozen of them.
Okay. They have great names.
And this tool, yeah, Jacoco is the coolest. I assume it stands for Java code coverage. And this tool can produce, I think there's a list of like half a dozen of them. That's why I know all the formats. This tool can produce most of them. And we have to tweak this in a few minutes when we do Sonar Cube, because we want Azure DevOps to ingest the code coverage. We also want Sonar Cube to ingest the code coverage. So Azure Pipelines understands Cobertura, but Sonar Cube doesn't. And Sonar Cube understands OpenCover, but Azure Pipelines doesn't. But we'll just do the Azure DevOps one now. So you got still a couple other arguments to pass here, I think, or one more. /p coverlet output equals, and this is where it's going to toss the output file.
Okay.
So do build sources directory in like the variable syntax. as build.sources directory.
Okay.
And then I usually do like slash test results slash coverage. And you're on Windows, so I'm not sure if it matters, but those should be the other slashes.
Backslashes?
Well, for Windows, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't think it can. Sure.
And then put a slash at the end. I think in this case it matters.
All right.
Because I think if you don't put a slash, it assumes that's a file name. And I think that's it. So now we're going to be generating, we still got one more thing to do. So now we're generating the code coverage data as a Covertura XML file. Now we have to generate the nice HTML report.
Okay.
So add another task. It's another .NET Core task.
Okay.
And here we're going to do, command is going to be custom.
Okay.
And the path to the project is going to be your test project. And the custom command is going to be report generator.
All one word, lowercase, or?
All one word, lowercase. Now, in the interest of time, I'm just going to paste the arguments to you on Slack here.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Because there's a few of them for this next one. All right, so what it's doing is it's telling it where to grab the Covertura XML file in that first one. It's telling it where to put the nice fancy HTML reports, which is in that reports folder. It's going to put a tag on it, not sure really what the tag does, and the format of the reports, inline HTML. Make sense?
Yeah.
I believe you need to set the working directory. Is it for this task or the other one? I think you need to set the working directory to your tests folder.
I need to try slash, but there we go. Okay.
Okay, and then there's one other thing we need to do. Add another task in here after the coverage report, and it's going to be publish code coverage. That's the one.
All right.
All right, so coverage tool, Covertura. The summary file is, you can just do like build sources directory slash star star
Oh, okay. Sure.
slash, or you can grab the whole path from there too if you want.
So that'll work.
You need to put, and then slash coverage.covertura.xml. It's dot Covertura.
Okay.
And then report directory, you can grab that from the last task too. It's that target deer.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you need a slash, but I have a slash on mine at the end.
Slash it is.
And then you can check out that fail when code results are missing.
Okay.
Yeah, you do that. They shouldn't be. They are missed. Probably want to be able to do it.
Sure. Makes sense to me.
All right, let's run it.
All right.
Curious what our code coverage is going to be.
Even Q, I bet you it's not going to be good.
What's good? I bet you it's going to be okay.
Depends on your definition of okay.
So we're gonna get some pretty slick code prediction once this is done.
That's cool. It's getting all of our stuff from the Visual Studio.
Yeah,
feed.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Me too.
Can you guys still hear me? I'm having some audio problems.
Yeah, it's a little bit flaky, but it's kind of there.
Okay, so while this is running, one of our next thing, which is going to be started.
I probably only have about another 5 minutes here before I gotta go. I can't hear you at all anymore. You still there, Dave?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so it's just Dylan's audio that's bad then.
Call him back. I don't think I can re-add him to the call.
Oh, gosh, what's Skype? Oh, well, that was exactly not what I wanted. Oh my god. What the hell this computer is up to right now?
There's Dylan.
Yeah, okay.
I'm back.
You're back.
Okay, so we're running low on time. So if we want to do the Sonar Cube, which is unfortunate because that's the coolest bit of all this, and the white source, we might have to record that in a follow-up video.
Yeah, we could do that.
Sounds good.
But we could just keep an eye on this build here, maybe just...
But let's stop the code coverage stuff and take a look at it because it's going to look pretty awesome.
Oh, it's... Still.NET restoring. Wow. No idea what the heck this thing is restoring for 2.5 minutes. There we go.
You can see there from your ASP.NET Monster feed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that idea a lot. I had this like half-written blog post about how you should never check in packages that I keep meaning to publish, but then people keep screwing up, and I always feel like, I gotta like wait until I can publish this thing.
Getting close.
Yeah, and if you now there's code coverage. So let's take a look at the error.
Just missing
You must have got it.
packages. I must have just screwed up the directories. Let's give it the actual report directory.
And while that's running, if you go and look at your artifact feed now,
Oh wow, look at that. Got tons of cool stuff in here.
yep. So these are all the things that are now cached.
And so this is not unique to NuGet, right? I can put my NPM packages in here too, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
What about,
That's awesome.
is there like an equivalent package system for Java? There must be.
For the upstream support, we only have npm and NuGet right now, but I know they're looking at adding other ones.
Okay, yeah, Ivy, Maven are the things I'm thinking of in the Java world.
Yeah.
Look at that, I know things about Java. Yeah.
That's because you're an expert.
Yeah, at all things.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Hopefully this restore runs a little bit faster than last time.
I'm loving that
Yeah.
feature with the package feed because that's something I always want to do with most of the projects I work on, but I never seem to actually have the time to go and set up a private feed that caches all this stuff.
Yeah, the restores, if you compare the time to your AppVeyor restore, unfortunately it is going to be a bit longer. I think AppVeyor does some pretty aggressive stuff with caching packages.
Yeah, they're
which-
caching the packages folder and just pulling it down as a
Yeah,
zip file kind of thing.
yeah, so we don't have that yet. I know we're working on something around that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about CI is that I can like set up an arbitrary cache of stuff, and I can key it off of, say, like the package-lock file, and so it'll always pull that cache until the package lock file changes, and it'll invalidate it and do a proper restore.
Yeah, we're just working with a team on speeding up their builds, and we implement that exact approach, but we had to do it implement it ourselves. But I know the Azure Pipeline team is working on something. It's a common complaint that package restores are slow. Now, obviously, if you had your own private build agents, you could cache it all. But because you're using the hosted infrastructure, you're getting a fresh VM every time you run a build.
Right. Yes, that's only fair. Or I guess we could build our own Docker image, right? Do the build inside of that. We'd still have to download it, but it would probably be a little bit more efficient.
You'd still have to have your packages cached inside your Docker image, or you're going to be downloading them every time anyways.
Right, but I could build like a custom Docker image that already contained everything that I needed.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. And we support both Linux and Windows. I've never used the Windows containers with Azure DevOps, but I have used the Linux ones a lot, and they work great. We're almost there. I think the next couple tasks are the moment of truth. We know this one works. And I know it's generating the file, because last time we saw it run, yeah, that little bit at the end I saw.
What? Okay. Project files matching the pattern were not found. Oh,
All right.
It's not the publishing of the code. That's what I fixed, but it's actually the .NET coverage one that's broken.
So, yeah. It's your path to projects.
Right, I thought we put Genfu tests.
Oh, I think you might still need to specify the full path there.
Oh, really? It doesn't... Okay. I'll try it real quick.
That's definitely the problem. And so while this is running, so if you look here, maybe in the next video we'll convert all this back to YAML. But if you click on Pipeline on the left,
okay,
and then in the top right you got View YAML, the very top right. So this is the YAML for your full pipeline.
Okay. It's a lot better
But
than
then,
YAML.
Yeah, so if you don't have a YAML yet, you can just copy paste that in there. If you already have a YAML build and you're looking to tweak it, add code coverage to it already, if you X out of this dialog and click on the publish code coverage task, let's say, and click on View YAML on the top right.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
It'll give you the YAML just for that step.
But there's no way back from YAML, right? Like once you're in YAML, you can't reload the YAML inside of the visual editor.
No, unfortunately not.
That's unfortunate. Alright, well, we're a minute into the .NET package restore. So that's most of it.
Almost halfway there.
I see the last build failed after 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's almost entirely the package restore that takes up all the time. Oh, that's weird. It ran in half the time it normally does.
Oh.
Now I'm concerned. Happy, but concerned. Okay, so the tests ran fine. It was just a coverage report that wasn't right. Okay, you may notice that we're all wearing different things. That's because in between the last few seconds and these few seconds, there was a slight hiatus as we went off and fixed some stuff. So it turns out the capitalization on some of that stuff is kind of important, and we made some mistakes around that. Just in the project file, we put the wrong capitalization in.
You want to show what the fix was in your...
I require that I actually have the...
There's 2 letters. It was in your test CS proj.
Yeah, I've got to find the right editor here. Hold on.
Just bring it up. Just bring it up on GitHub.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. Right, so it was in the test CS proj, and it was this .NET CLI tool reference. I think we had CLI and capitalization there. Turns out super important, otherwise it doesn't work. But the result of that is that now we have some test metrics that are coming back, and
We got a bunch of
into the portal.
a bunch of cool stuff in here now, right? So we're basically done what we're going to do for this video. But if you look through your build summary, you got 2 artifacts being published, right? Your NuGet, which is your nupkeg, and a code coverage artifact.
Right.
And then
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe start expanding some of those sections there. So we got
these
all kinds of good
expand
stuff in here.
What? I can just like oh, these things. Oh, look at that. That's cool. So our code coverage is 71%, which is honestly way better than I thought it would be. Our test coverage is pretty high too. All of our tests pass. We just have 2 that are not running, so those are intentionally ignored at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And then we got other. If we scroll down farther, right? So associated changes. So that's going to be every commit since the last successful build. So we had a few failed builds here. So you got a couple.
So this is the one that we fail, and then we fix the Jinfu tests with that capitalization. Yeah. Perfect.
So because this is a CI build, right? Normally you'd expect 1 commit to be there if you're always passing, but in this case we failed. So, and then you can even see that this particular build, your deployment info, right? So we have a release pipeline that kicks off automatically on a successful build. So this build has already been deployed to your private NuGet feed, and it's pending approval to get published out to NuGet.org, which is pretty cool.
Right. Okay. We won't give it that approval today. But then I noticed also at the top we've got a couple of tabs. So the test tab was there before, but it's still cool to see.
Yeah, the new thing is the code coverage tab.
Yeah, okay, so let's take a look at that here.
And what this is showing you, so if you remember in your test project, we added Coverlet, which actually does the code coverage. And then we added, I can't remember what it was called, that the coverage report generator thing, which is what generates this.
So that's good. That gives us an idea of kind of spots where we could get a little bit more code coverage and where we're doing okay. So a lot of
and you can click it. Yeah, you can click into some of those files. Like if you pick one that's like 60%.
Yeah, this one, yeah. So it gives us an idea. Good, we're testing that. But then it looks like there's maybe a function here that we haven't actually written any tests for here. That'll probably be difficult to test anyway because it's using a lot of random stuff, but yeah, that's awesome to see. What do these numbers represent?
That is a good question. Oh, I think that might be the number of times it was hit.
Okay, so a lot of these are hit an astronomically large number of times just because they're like public properties that get kind of initialized every time the class gets activated, maybe. I'm not even sure what those numbers would be, but the more interesting ones would be, like, this is maybe not a good file to test. Let's take a look at a different one. We actually have some test coverage. Yeah, so even this one gets filled a lot of times. So this must get exercised quite a bit in some of our tests to have things go through it 1,700 times. But that's excellent to see. So this really gives us an idea of like places like this where our test coverage is very poor, as opposed to like right here where our test coverage is not too bad. So this would be an easy win right here, right? Because probably the tests that we have for our decimal filler are very similar to the ones we should have for our double filler. So that would probably be like a 10-minute sort of fix to clean that up.
Yeah, well, it might be that you just need more tests, and chasing 100% code coverage is not a good thing to chase anyways. But it could be that you need more tests. It could also be that if you've got no code coverage, it's because that code is obsolete and dead code.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. I'm super happy about this. I remember writing a bunch of tests around the zip code filler, so I'm excited to see that has at least some code coverage behind it.
You've got one line covered?
I know, I don't understand with that. It seemed like it was much more enthusiastic originally.
I wonder why the other lines aren't like red or green. Like if they weren't called, it should be red. If they were, it should be green. What does no color mean?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, line coverage.
And maybe...
Well, it says that they are coverable lines, so maybe for some reason these are not coverable? I don't know what that means by coverable.
Could it be, I was going to say, could it be that the compiler optimized them out of there? But these are public methods. I don't think that's possible.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is great to see. So this is a really nice feature to have, and had we been a little bit smarter the first time through, this would have been basically an hour's worth of work to get everything. Building, deploying, running code coverage, running our tests, all of that. So I'm pretty enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, so then, I think we talked about we may or may not record another video and add some other cool stuff into these pipelines that you can do, like Sonar Cube and white source security analysis. But then even whether you do that or not, at some point you're going to want to take this pipeline that we created and generate the YAML and check that back into your repo.
So what's the advantage to generating the YAML and checking it, just that it ends up being versioned along with everything else?
Yeah, and it allows you to do put pull requests around changes to your build definition, which can be nice, especially if you got multiple people collaborating. Your build definition will now get branched along with each of your branches and merged together, which means that you might do a feature branch that requires changes to your build process. So now you can have the branched YAML with those changes, and master is still buildable, and the branch is buildable, but it uses a different YAML. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big deal. I've had that scenario come up a couple of times where we're like, well, we need to make a change to build process, but it's going to break develop. So how are we going to do this? And being able to check it in would make that a lot easier. It does just become slightly less maintainable, I guess, but it's just like anything else. You're going to have to learn how to use it. And it doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't do a lot of work directly in the YAML. I usually just do it in the editor and then copy paste into the YAML, right? And certainly when you're building the build for the first time, you can do it all in the editor and generate the whole thing like this. But even in the future, let's say I wanted to add an extra task, just one task into an existing YAML build. If you X out of this dialog here, you have pipeline selected right now, but if you select an individual task,
like one of these?
yeah, and then click View YAML, it's going to show you just the YAML for that task.
Excellent, yeah. So it wouldn't be bad to get that, and it does seem to map pretty much basically onto everything that's here. Do I need to save it to have the changes come up inside the YAML? Oh no, so that you don't even need to save it. You just kind of go through and key in the values, export the YAML, and away you go.
Yeah. The main thing I need the editor for, the GUI for, is what is the task name and what are the property names.
Yeah, I would admit the first time that we went through this, that was one of our big stumbling blocks, was that the way we entered into this, we didn't have access to the editor, we just had the YAML. And then finding any documentation or anything on that was very tricky. But having this tooling here gets us through that very easily. And there are like a million different tasks out there that you can run.
And I know our YAML stuff is still somewhat early days. It hasn't been around all that long, but I do know that we're working on a richer YAML editing experience, right? Make things more discoverable. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I can imagine things like IntelliSense or task names and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be great. Boy, there are a ton of things in the marketplace here.
Yeah, I think we ship 1 to 200 out of the box, and then there's 500 plus in the marketplace.
Gosh, there's stuff here I've never even heard of. Wow.
What I usually do is I I usually just bring up the marketplace webpage and sort it by number of downloads, because we're at the point now where there's too many for me to scroll through and know them all. So I'm just looking at the popular ones usually.
Yeah.
And I think if you click on one of them here, it shows you a bit extra info, like number of downloads or something. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so this one's only got 344 installs, which doesn't feel like a lot to me. But it is, or maybe this is sorted by number.
Yeah,
But Sonar
that makes
Cube, which is, we might record something on that. Pretty high. Oh yeah, Docker integration. Oh, it's a popular one, placing tokens and files.
Yes, that's a good task. I've used that a bunch.
Yeah. All right,
Oh.
awesome. So yeah, we'll come back in a later video and take a look at Sonar Cube, and the other one you mentioned was
White source bolt. Yeah, it's a cool one. Very, very easy to get going with it.
All right, great. Well, thanks for your time on this, Dylan. We really appreciate it.
All right, it was fun.
Yeah, well, we'll see everybody next time on another episode of the Asp.Net Monsters. Because we're on YouTube now, I'm supposed to say things like subscribe. I don't really know what that does for me. But
I think you gotta put this up on them. Subscribe right, click right there, right?
is it like there, or is it more? I don't know. Maybe soft ones. It doesn't really matter anyway. You should click it, and we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Later.